welcome to a Hoop Collective YouTube exclusive. I am Tim Bontemps. We're here to talk about the NBA. Brian Windhorst is not here. He's doing more important things, traveling to LA for trade deadline coverage this week. However, there was a trade today, believe it or not. And joining me are the two people impacted by that trade. In Brooklyn, Nick Friedell, who's got a smile as wide as the Brooklyn Bridge. He's so happy. His best friend, his buddy cop partner, Kyrie Irving, has left him. He's gone down to the great state of Texas to party with MacMahon, hang out in Dallas. Fellas, how are we feeling?
Howdy, partners.
I'm loving this whole thing because one of the first questions I got from damn near everybody I knew. Yeah, there you go.
This is kind of this is the world I'm living in now. This is
That's right.
I'm told it's Pluto, but I it's a cousin of Goofy, and that's how I'm feeling. I'm pretty goofy.
But everybody, Timmy, kept asking me, "Have you talked to MacMahon yet?" I feel like there really is a passing of the torch here going on.
Listen, Bontemps, I told you guys, I can't wait this damn thing. I told you guys on Friday, like, dude,
you did. You were first on it right after the.
I was like, I just knew in my gut that the Mavericks were going to be the ones to get him, and honestly, because I thought it was going to be Mavericks or Lakers, and obviously that's not exactly going on them, but it was just the desperation from those two franchises to get a superstar level talent in. And obviously, let's just set this up real quick. I can't imagine somebody's watching this and doesn't know the details, but just in case they don't, Mavericks are sending Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, a first round pick in 2029 and second round picks in 27 and 29 to the Nets for Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris as a throw in to make the roster and money work. So let's just start off the top from the Dallas perspective with this deal. Like you said, MacMahon, what I was going to say, Friday, we did the unscheduled pod. You were right on top of it from the beginning. The second the Kyrie thing came out, you were all over it. You said the Mavs were interested. You thought they were going to have a real chance to get this guy. Why did the Mavs go all in, or mostly in at least, to get Kyrie Irving today? A whole lot of the way in, that's for sure. And essentially it's this. Obviously, finding a legitimate co-star for Luka has been the organizational priority since his rookie year, which is why they went all in on Porzingis back then, a deal they still haven't fully paid off. And so it essentially came down to this. Hey, strike when the opportunity presents itself instead of what was probably plan A, be patient, wait to strike this summer. But it's not like there was hey, if we wait until this summer, we're definitely going to get this guy or that guy. It was wait this summer for hopefullys, maybes, and frankly, the hopefullys and maybes that we've kicked around before that we could talk about again, they aren't as talented as Kyrie. So this is a clear case of a team desperate for a superstar talent to pair with their MVP candidate. Going ahead and jumping on that opportunity and essentially saying, hey, we know the risks, especially with just a few months left on his contract. His talent justifies the risk. And then, plan B at this point, if this thing doesn't work out and it gets to summer and whether the Mavericks are like, dude, we can't go forward, or Kyrie says, you know what, I'm going somewhere, whatever, the Mavericks sort of say, hey, because they did get off some salary for next year, good players in Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, but salary for next year. If this thing does not continue this summer with an extension or a new contract, the Mavericks will have sub-max, but they'll be positioned where they can get to max salary cap space. And, I'm sure that's music to Mavericks fans' ears, considering how many times they've heard that before. Obviously, you make this deal fully hoping they're going to make, Luka and Kyrie will make wonderful music together. Jason Kidd will be the first coach in the history of ever to get through to Kyrie. It's just going to be la-di-da-di-da-di, good times going forward. But we all understand the risk. The Mavs understand the risk, and they are significant.
Well, look, I think it's worth pointing out, right? The Mavs, right about a year ago this time, could have signed Jalen Brunson for 4 years and $54 million. Jalen Brunson, I'm here at Madison Square Garden. Jalen Brunson is starring for the Knicks. Probably should have made the All-Star team. And I'm getting twice as much money as that and has been a bargain for the Knicks, right?
The only thing I would
have,
correct is not around this time, but earlier in the season, and certainly before this season.
Right. So I was just saying like middle of last season at some point. But
correct.
That being said, the Mavericks have Jalen Brunson. There's no need to put in all these assets. So really you're talking Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and a first and 2 seconds, all to get Kyrie.
For potentially like a third of a season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what? If they make a deep playoff run now, maybe it ends up being worth it. But did they seek my advice? No. Would I have advised them to make this deal? No. But it's done. They did it. They went all in. They had pressure. We've talked about the pressure that was on the Mavericks, and Luka had made it clear, hey, dude, I'm playing an MVP level. Like, come on, we're going to give ourselves a chance or what? And if this didn't present itself, I think they could have said, hey, man, we get it. Trust us. It's priority one. Here's the plan going forward this summer. But I don't think with this presenting it, I think it would have been very difficult for them to look Luka in the eye. I'm talking Nico Harrison. I'm talking about Mark Cuban. Jason Kidd to a certain extent, for them to look Luka in the eye and say, hey, we could have gotten that Kyrie deal done. We just didn't think it was worth it. I know this team's not going anywhere this year, but this summer we're going to strike. That would have been tough. That would have been a really tough sell.
Well, LeBron James, while we've been doing this pod, just tweeted, maybe it's me. So I have a feeling that the conversation that would have been going on between Nico and Luka, it's probably going on between LeBron James and Rob Pelinka and the leadership in LA right now. We'll get to the Lakers a bit because obviously they're impacted by this. But Nick, obviously you have been all over the Kyrie story for the past couple of years. Beyond your the halo that's sitting over your head currently appears with the light behind you and with the broad smile you've got from Kyrie departing. What do you think of this trade from the Nets standpoint, and where does this leave the Nets right now?
It all centers around Kevin Durant moving forward, guys. What does he want? What does he think of this? In the next couple days, I'm sure we'll find out. But if you're the Nets, I can only stress this to anybody in the last few days, like, why now? Why did this happen right now?
Well, and I just want to interject right there, because as we know, last summer, our guy who's not here, but is here in spirit, a guy, Brian Windhorst, went on TV after the Royce O'Neal trade and said, why would they do that? Right? So why would the Nets make
I put
this
two
trade?
other fingers up towards Friedell before we started this pod. With
Yes,
that
you
big
did.
old grin.
But we are on a Disney platform, so we're not going to do that on the pod itself.
Remind McMahon that for the next few months, please.
There it is. Put the hat back on. That's right. Put the hat back on. Now, so why would the Nets do that now? To your point, Nick, the fact that the Nets made this trade today. Now, McMahon, I assume you would agree with me, this trade would have been on the table a couple of days from now. This was not something Dallas is going to run away from if they didn't do this immediately.
Yeah, this is the Nets saying, look, you put on the table what we got, and honestly, I think it is a good deal for the Nets, especially given the circumstances and understanding, like, hey, if this was on the table earlier this season, I think they probably would have done it then, or preseason. But yeah, this is, hey, let's get this over with and move on with our lives.
I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's exactly all of it. To me, the reason you make this trade today is because you're trying to make more moves. Right? Like you could have, to me, I obviously talked about what I think the Nets should have done the other day. I think they should have turned the screws on the Lakers, let this story sit this week, try to get rid of Simmons, try to get those 2 picks. If you couldn't get those things, you could make this Mavericks deal on Wednesday, probably. Because, Dallas is clearly motivated to get this done. It is a solid deal in a vacuum for the Nets. Dorian Finney-Smith's a good player. Spencer's a starting level point guard to get a first-round pick. Like that's, for a guy with all the issues Kyrie has, with 3 months left on his deal, in a vacuum, that's fine. But to me, and this is why I wanted to interject when you were talking, Nick, the fact that they did this right now it goes back to the Kevin Durant question, right? And it's what can the Nets do from now until Thursday at 3 p.m. to put more talent around Kevin Durant this season to try to be as good as they can this season. I don't know if that's the best plan for them going forward, but to me at least, that seems like that was what the motivation was to do today. Is that sort of your sense of things, that they're not done doing business and they want to try to continue to rework this roster between now and Thursday?
Tim and B, I think they're both true, because after that Kyrie request on Friday, the tenor in the organization was just different. And Mr. MacMahon is dead on, because the feeling was just, oh my God, let's get this over with. I can't take
It was time.
It was time. Like, fine,
And
you
why-
want out? Like, let's go.
And I had one question about that. We've seen the Nets put up with many, many things that Kyrie has done, right? I'm not even trying to make a joke. Like, they literally put up with
true. Yeah.
everything. Why was this the moment when they're like, we got to get rid of this guy in a day?
Because
Like
you knew
what-
it was, well, and as far as a day versus leading them to the deadline, but this was like, hey, there's not going to be any patching it up.
Right. Well, they'd been doing fine. Like, they got drilled in Boston, but they had stabilized. They had stabilized because Kyrie is still unbelievably great. Anybody who sits there and goes, oh, can he maintain this? The guy is incredible. He is an incredible talent. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best offensive guards any of us have ever seen, especially in this era.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, Kyrie in the last few weeks kept talking about, I think we're building something special here. We're coming together. We feel like we can still be a championship contender. And then on Friday, hey, I'm out. I want to be gone. So this goes to Mr. MacMahon's point, which was, okay, we've had enough. Like, walking into that locker room pregame Saturday night and then listening to everybody over the course of the next few hours, it was like, even the guys that love him, the Cam Thomases, the Nick Claxton, they're all saying, well, we stand behind Kyrie, but we want to stand with our teammates. And we got to focus on what we need to focus on to try and win. Jacques Vaughn, in as many words, was like, hey, I am supposed to be here as the coach. Players are supposed to play. He gave his own rebuke in his own way. But Timmy B,
go ahead.
To your point about giving themselves time, the next few days, if you're a Nets fan, they are fascinating, because we've got to figure out what Kevin Durant wants out of this. Does he want to stay without Kyrie for the long haul? What else can Sean Marks do? Because when you look at the way all the different possibilities are aligning themselves right now, I personally don't see a move for the Nets that takes them from one level where they're at right now to a different level where you think, okay, they can legitimately get through the East. Because I think all three of us agree, hey, the Nets, whatever they are, they're not as good as Boston, and they're not as good as Milwaukee. If both
they were
of those
already
two
not.
teams.
They were already below Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly even before this trade.
Exactly.
And it's hard to see how they're seeing. It might be the same, but it's not better now.
No, exactly right. And so if you're the Nets, you have to pick a lane, frankly, with Kevin, because you have to say, hey, are you with us? And I went and I asked our friend Bobby Marks this question a couple hours ago. I said, Bobby, because Bobby absolutely thinks they're in better shape, but what is the move that they could make going forward, even into the summer, that leads you to believe, okay, things can get better and they can get Kevin that next piece? And his point was, with the way things are aligned right now, you have the taxpayer mid-level, you can bring back Seth Curry, but then the next part of this conversation, guys, from the Nets standpoint is, what the hell do you do with Ben Simmons? And Timmy B, you and I have talked a lot about this throughout the course of the season. It just has not been very good. And to think at this point, especially in the year, that he's going to be much better than what we've seen whenever he does return from the knee soreness, good luck to the Nets. And that, to me, is the biggest issue for Kevin Durant and for the organization, because they thought that Simmons was going to be a missing piece that could fit in really well with Kyrie and KD. That has not been the case. And he still has 2 more years left on his deal after this one. So there are a lot of moving pieces here. It starts with Kevin Durant, but 1A is, what in the world do you do with that Simmons contract?
Yeah, and that's why I thought they had to try to get Simmons out of here in a Kyrie deal, because that would give them so much more flexibility. We talked about that enough of the on Friday. I want to pivot back to Dallas for the same question we just talked about with Brooklyn. MacMahon, what do you think the Mavs? Obviously, you've got Luka and Kyrie now. We know the Mavs already were struggling on defense. Now they lose their best perimeter defender.
Right.
It's going to be interesting seeing how they try to guard people. But setting that aside, what do you think Dallas is trying to do between now and the deadline? Is this their move? Are they done? Are they trying to do more? Like, what do you think they're trying to do going forward?
They'll try to do more. And listen, losing Dorian Finney-Smith, like I get the superstar talent upgrade here. Losing Dorian Finney-Smith is a significant blow. He was, as you said, their best wing defender, a 3-and-D guy. I think he's going to, Brooklyn fans are really going to like him. I know Kevin Durant really likes him. Spencer Dinwiddie, whether he starts or gets back to that 6-man role, that's a quality player. But what the Mavericks, they have now arguably, and I would argue this certainly, the best offensive duo in the NBA. When you talk about Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, now how often is Kyrie playing? When's Luka going to get back on the floor with his heel bruise? When they're on the floor together, those dudes they're going to give you 60. Will it be 70, 80, 90? Like, these guys can absolutely light it up. But one of the worst defensive teams in the league took another step back defensively. No secret that the Mavericks have been trying to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm sure that will continue. Obviously, they would have preferred to have put Hardaway in this deal instead of Dinwiddie or Dorian Finney-Smith. The Nets got the two guys that they wanted. Christian Wood, no secret that whole thing has been iffy all along. Yep. And when you talk about, hey, fallback plan, Mavericks could have close to max cap space. Well, simple math tells me that doesn't mean you're re-signing Christian Wood, right? I mean, I ain't the smartest guy in the world, but my calculator can punch in those numbers. And they've been sniffing around the market. I don't know if there's value for Christian Wood in the trade market. If there is, I expect the Mavericks to pull the trigger on that. Certainly, the guy can score, no question, but the need for his scoring versus what he's giving back on the other end of the floor, well, the need for his scoring has certainly been diminished. The importance of defense has been increased, and they have Maxi Kleber coming back. I don't know if it'll be before the All-Star break, but this month he's started practicing again. So yeah, Hardaway and Wood, I think, are two names that are going to be you'll hear them in rumors over the next few days. Jaden Hardy, their second round pick, that's another a sweetener. I would say that the big win in this deal for the Mavericks, as far as what they didn't have to put in, would be Josh Green, young wing, third year. He has a bright future in the NBA and becomes much more important for the Mavericks. I
was going to ask you, Tim. I mean, he probably should start now, right?
I would think so. Jay Kidd might go with the vet, go with Reggie Bullock. Honestly, I thought if it was up to me, and this gets back to they don't ask my opinion on things or take my advice, Josh Green should have been starting for a while now. He's right. I thought there was a strong case for him to start over Spencer Dinwiddie and have Dinwiddie in the 6-man role. I think there's you have to understand the psychology of a locker room and that sort of thing, but sure. I think he should be starting over Tim Hardaway Jr. if you just base it on production, merit, contributions towards winning. So keeping him out of the deal was significant for the Mavericks, but I tell you what, boy, an unprotected, which Friedell knows all about, these unprotected draft picks, Friedell, draft picks, 2029 draft pick for a team, the Mavericks, who, look, Luka's like, you made Luka happy now. That doesn't mean you keeping him happy for 6 years. If this thing blows up, man, that 2029 pick could be extremely valuable. Getting that pick, not just in this deal, but with no protection on it, was a huge win for Sean Marks.
I agree. I mean, I would have liked to get Josh Green in the deal, but getting that pick definitely helps. And look, like, I've seen some talk that, oh, well, this is a good swing for Dallas to take. You mentioned that they've got potential to get a bunch of cap space this summer, but I mean, you've been on this for months. I mean, they really had one swing to go get a star player. And they didn't quite use every asset they have. They still have Josh Green. They still have a pick or two they can now move in the future, but
Right.
they put a lot of eggs in the Kyrie Irving basket, man. That's a lot of
and look,
that's
this
just a lot.
max, this and they'd still have to do work to get to max cap space, but this cap space is the summer fallback plan. Let's just be clear. That would be egg all over your face, but hey, we can try to salvage this. But if you give up a 3-and-D wing who's coveted around the league on a good contract, the guy who was your number 2 playmaker, certainly a proven quality starter / 6-man in Spencer Dinwiddie, an unprotected 2029 first-round pick in 3 seconds to, well, hey, it was a rental. Boy, that didn't work out. And by the way, if it doesn't work out, it means there's going to be freaking, things burned down all over the place around here. And try to salvage it with cap space, which, look, we've
been talking about Dallas using cap space for
there's
10 years on free agents.
Yeah. No, Donnie Nelson's gone, but the old saying that, we're keeping our powder dry, that still causes Mavs fans to cringe. And it's not like it's a loaded free agency class. Like, I don't know, is Chris Middleton leaving Milwaukee to reunite with Jay Kidd? Fred VanVleet, James Harden can
again,
whatever.
if you're signing any of those guys, it's because this trade didn't work in some form.
And you've lost all the assets that went with it.
That's right. And you lost all these assets. And the other thing that's worth pointing out, I agree with you that it's a good thing for the Nets to get that pick in 2029. You have been talking for months, MacMahon, about how Dallas is going to be able to offer the suite of picks going forward, right? It's a quirky thing, but because they give up this 2029 pick, they can only trade 2 firsts going forward because of the years. Like it does really kind of box them in what they can do. Now, they can maybe get another first later and bounce it out or whatever, but this really is a pretty heavy push in when there could be a lot of guys available to be traded for this summer. They could have other ways to get cap space this summer. I don't know. I mean, I get you on the fit with Luka in terms of their offensive firepower, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think this changes Dallas's ceiling really at all. And I don't know. I just don't like it.
I think it changes the ceiling. I think, whether changing the ceiling, they're not the favorites in the West now. Not They're not better than Denver. They're not better than Memphis, although Memphis certainly has some other things they've got to figure out.
Yes, they do.
Not necessarily with the roster, to say the least. I disagree that it doesn't change the ceiling. The question is, does it raise the probabilities of a championship enough to justify all the risk? And hey, he's an IAS guy. It's always something. There will be chaos.
What I meant, I guess to be clear, what I meant was that unless they make moves to improve defensively, I think your point about this year's title odds, it doesn't really change this year's title odds for them very much, because they're just going to be so bad on defense.
Well,
if they can find a way to add another player or two, maybe it's
none to not much.
That's fair. That's fair. But it'll be interesting to see. We should, I think, touch on a little bit what this means around the league. A few days ago, before this Kyrie trade request, it did not seem like a lot was really cooking from a trade perspective. You had some of these teams, Dallas is going to be aggressive looking around. The Lakers are going to be aggressive looking around. But it didn't seem like there was going to be a big domino out there. Since then, we have the Kyrie trade request. You have Steph now out for some period of time after this injury he suffered in the win over Dallas Saturday night. You've got, what happens in Brooklyn going forward. They're going to be aggressive trying to make moves. You got Dallas trying to make moves. You have LeBron tweeting about
the Clippers trying to make moves.
You have the Clippers desperately trying to improve their roster. You have the Lakers now with LeBron pretty openly saying, I'm not happy. what do we think? I'll start with you, Nick. What do we think?
He's not the only one in Lakerland not happy right now, Timmy B.
That's true. What do we think? What do you see the next few days looking like, Nick? Because now with this Kyrie, as Kyrie always does, Kyrie has thrown the league once again into a bit of chaos.
He's the first domino. I'm sure he loves that part of it. But I still, guys, as we try to figure out who could go where and what may happen, I don't see a guy out there, and that includes Kyrie, who is going to change the dynamic or the odds that much. I don't see that type of player who is potentially available, who we're going to sit here in a week and go, oh, okay, well, now I see that team has taken a leap. To me, despite everything that's gone on in the last 24 hours or so, it's still Boston, Milwaukee, and everybody else. And obviously, somebody's got to come out of the West. There's going to be somebody who appears in the finals. I just don't see that team, no matter what they have, being able to jump over where the Bucks and Celtics are at right now.
Bontemps, where are you right now?
I'm at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I thought you were in my bad.
Well,
where are you going to be tomorrow?
The Sixers are playing here at Madison Square Garden.
Good.
If you're going to talk about that.
That's what I was. I think the Sixers could have something to say about it. And hey, don't just act like the West is getting a participation ribbon. The Nuggets have established themselves as clearly the best team in the Western Conference. Jamal Murray looks like a legitimate star again. Joker's having the best year of his career, and he's a two-time freaking MVP. And we'll see what happens with the Bones Highland situation. We've discussed that before. That sounds like it's coming to an end. And I think they'll get another piece there. I think the Nuggets deserve to be taken seriously as legitimate contenders.
I need to see them do it in the playoffs first, personally.
Well, they've been to the West Finals before. I mean, you act like they've never done it. And then Murray's been hurt since.
I want to see what they look like in a non-bubble situation in the playoffs. I think the game in Philly, when they put PJ Tucker on Jokic in the second half, to me, that was the blueprint to shut down Denver in the playoffs. And in particular, we got to see what happens with Stephen Curry. But if the Warriors are in the playoff and they got Draymond Green playing obviously a much higher level role of that PJ Tucker role in that matchup, I don't think Denver's beating Golden State. And again, there's another team, right? We talk about Golden.
That's bold. Look at the Warriors' road record and the Nuggets' home record.
I know. But I just trust them in the playoffs. And look, Golden State.
Do you think the Grizzlies are fine in the West?
The Grizzlies are not fine, period, right now on a variety of fronts.
I do, and we've talked about this too. I do think, Zach Kleiman, their GM, he's not very loud about his business. He works quietly. We need to keep an eye on those Grizz before this deadline.
No, look, they got a ton of young players. They have picks. They have the ability to do something. And look, if things are wide open, to your point, Nick, I would say to agree. I think we're going to be sitting here in a few days and probably saying there isn't the kind of player that really moved the needle that changed things. I also didn't think Kyrie was requesting a trade on Thursday.
Kyrie
moves let me throw this in for Mr. McMahon then.
Well,
anything is possible, baby. Anything is possible for the rest of your time this season with your new pal Kyrie. When you think everything's good, that's when things go way off track. And when you think I'll say bad, that's when there's still a possibility of them going
I'm going to say this. Kyrie and I will have one thing that we can instantly bond over. We both can't stand you, Friedell. We both hate your freaking guts. So,
all right, well,
we'll be able to get off
conversations with Kyrie. Let the record show. It's just
one-sided,
way sideways a few months ago.
we're gonna get to the bromance in a second, but before we get to that, I want to touch on the Lakers quick before we go and get into that. What do we think the Lakers do over the next 4 days?
I think you got to take the possibilities with the Jazz seriously. Well, listen, if Trader Danny has you over a barrel, oh, hey, I don't know if Danny Ainge is on Twitter, but
Danny Ainge is on Twitter for sure.
Oh, he is. That's right. I follow.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, did you see what KD just tweeted? Well, let me tell you. But listen, if you're talking about Russell Westbrook's, I don't know if it'd be a buyout situation in Utah. I could also see them saying, "Hey, we're competing for the playoffs. He's our starting point guard. Let's do this." But if it's a Russell Westbrook situation, obviously Danny would and Justin Zanuck, their GM, I don't think this happens unless the Lakers come off both picks, but they can throw some players their way. They can throw Mike Conley Jr., who would be a phenomenal fit with LeBron and AD. Certainly, we've talked about why he fits so well with the Clippers, because he's a vet. He can play on the ball. He can, he can spot up, play off the ball. For a team that needs shooting, Malik Beasley, he can fire him up, boy. Vanderbilt as an energy guy. Like, they could throw that kind of a package at him. Wait, hold on. Is that Danny Ainge saying, no. Instead of Vanderbilt, why don't you take Rudy Gay's contract? Okay, whatever.
They could certainly rebuild. They could certainly rebuild the Lakers rotation. And I think there's little doubt. Like, look, you saw it with this tweet tonight with LeBron, right? Who knows exactly what it means? But what's clear, LeBron has wanted Kyrie Irving on the Lakers. Yeah, that was very obvious, right? He tweets that crown. I think it was a crown and eyes emoji the other day. Like, this is something he thought he could get done. He saw it as a path for them to actually have a chance to get out of the West, which they might have if they added him. Now, that there's going to be immense pressure on the Lakers between now and 3 p.m. on Thursday to do something, to give some kind of reinforcements to LeBron. And it's going to be fascinating to see what LeBron says. Probably not going to talk before then. After that game, Tuesday night against the Thunder, probably the last time he's heard from officially before the trade deadline, he's going to put out some sort of message, I would think, beyond just, it's not my job, which is what he's been saying for a while. You got to think that's going to be putting out a
little bit more that it's not my job, but then he keeps talking.
Well,
it's not my job, but this would be a dumb move.
Well, I know, but he's tried to be politically correct about this for a while. I don't anticipate that, and I do think your point about the Clippers is a good one too. They've been aggressively looking at all these different point guards. The John Wall experiment has not worked out great. Whether it's Conley, whether it's Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry's name has been mentioned. I expect them to be aggressive doing something between now and the deadline. So we'll see. That said, Nick, do you have any advice for our guy as he embarks on his new adventure?
Yeah, tell Maria you're gonna be late all the time. you are always going to be late. That's what I would tell you for the biggest piece of advice. I mean, anything can happen with Kyrie. What I will always give him credit for, on top of being an unbelievable player, is for our jobs, the content does not stop. It does not stop. It is all the time. It is every day, no matter if it's something on the floor, if it's off the floor, anything is possible. So, my man, Mr. MacMahon, just get ready, because whatever you and I have been through in the last 13, 14 years, there ain't nothing that you have seen or done that will prepare you for what is coming to Dallas, Texas now, baby.
I've covered the Cowboys.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. I've read all the Cowboys books. They're insane. I am telling you, this is unique. this is one of one.
To put things in perspective a little bit, MacMahon. This morning you were not going anywhere. What is your week looking like now?
I'm jumping on a plane to Salt Lake City tonight. In a couple hours here, I'll be on a plane to Salt Lake City. After that, I'm heading to LA, and then it's TBD.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's not TBD. It's Kyrie.
Dallas is in Salt Lake on Monday night. They're in LA to play the Clippers on Wednesday night on our air.
Which will probably be Kyrie's debut, assuming that calf soreness has subsided by then.
Well, and also assuming this trade is done, right? I mean, there's big, we'll see. Maybe it gets expanded. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days. But yeah, MacMahon is going to be.
And the other thing is, we don't know.
On the road.
we don't know when the Luka Kyrie, collective debut will be. Luka, they'll likely fly out to LA together. Like Luka might as well get to know his new teammate on that flight. But we don't know yet whether Luka's going to be able to play on this road trip because of that heel contusion. So, it's there will be a lot of
for anybody out there who's watching this. If you see MacMahon in the NBA arena, just go give him a hug. I'm telling you right now.
No, don't give me a hug.
He's gonna need it. Just go give him a hug.
Don't touch me.
The looks on this guy's face in the next couple months is just
for anybody who sees
I would advise against that.
Okay, for anybody who sees Friedell in an NBA arena,
man, we're on a Disney platform.
Remember the move that Draymond did to Steven Adams in the West Finals all those years ago? Or if you just want to go like Dylan Brooks to Donovan Mitchell, it's a one of my favorite quotes. So I guess Steven Adams caught a couple of shots from Draymond in that series, and Steven Adams in his New Zealand accent said something along. Somebody asked, like, do you think this is accidental? Do you think it's coincidental? He goes, "It's not that big a target, mate." So I know it's not that big a target with Friedell, but give it a good kick. Right,
have fun, MacMahon.
Right square.
Have fun, big fella.
All right, I think that's a good. I think that's a good a place as any for us to stop here. So
he is so pissed off. I love it.
Listen, man.
I love it.
This is the job. This is life.
And let me tell you something.
Can't wait to make Kyrie's
to the job that you've never seen before. So have fun.
I will note that I've been working on a book about the pressure of building around a prodigy through the Luka prism.
I
don't think that hurts those efforts. I might not have as much time to work on it as I thought, but
good for the book.
Good fodder.
I was gonna finish off by saying that you are writing this book on the pressures that come with trying to build around a superstar talent. And I think it's safe to say, whatever you want to say about Kyrie, whatever you want to say about this situation, what's very clear is the Mavericks made this trade because they feel an immense amount of pressure to upgrade this roster and to try to win as soon as possible with Luka on their roster. And we will see.
Luka wanted this deal done. They made it happen.
That's right. And I think we all are in agreement in how it's going to likely end up, but they play the games for a reason. So we will see what happens. But thank you to my man, MacMahon, before he goes and gets on a plane to Salt Lake City and officially gets on Kyrie watch. Congratulations to the laugh track, Nick Friedell, who is now fully on vacation in Brooklyn.
No. Hold on. Can I say something? Maybe Friedell can finally get a girlfriend now. Okay.
Well, he certainly got time. He certainly got time now. The excuse of my time is wasting away.
Ladies of Brooklyn, hop on Bumble, hop on Hinge. Friedell's coming your way, baby. Swipe right for that big old lovable laugh track.
Yeah, you will. We should leave it with this then, because on the last date I went on, the girl I was with says,
19 what?
Says, no, you'll like this. She says, "So I Googled you today." And I'm like, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "Are you still friends with Kyrie Irving?" And I told a couple of our friends in the Nets organization, and they had a good line. They said, "Obviously, she didn't scroll down enough on Google."
Oh, man. There's no better way to end than that. So thank you to Nick. Thank you to MacMahon. Thank you to Brian and Essentia. Hopefully has a safe trip to LA. Remember to like and follow the Hoop Collective where you get it. Get your podcasts and right here on YouTube as well. And check back tomorrow where Brian and Zach Lowe, both going to be in LA for the trade deadline. They're going to do a Hoop Collective Low Post crossover pod. Check that out Monday morning. But until then, thanks to both of you for stopping in and recording this pod. And Godspeed, MacMahon. You're going to need it.
On this week's Howdy Partners, coming Tuesday, Tim, the urine-soaked wet blanket Bontemps. So there'll be two people in foul moods. Adios, amigos.